You're listening to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, Accelerated Edition, episode number 6. Today, I speak with founder of the Mom on the Climb tribe, Christina Reynolds, on how to survive and overcome using your pain for purpose. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their touching stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I'm your host, Christina Reisinger, and today we will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hey, Christina, how are you doing today? Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast.
Well, thanks so much, Christina. I'm so happy and honored to be here. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, I am so excited for this interview. We have been trying very hard to get together for this. So
Yeah, yes, we have.
The first thing I want to do is have you tell the audience who you are, what you do, what you're about, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, I am a mom of 4, and I just love being a mom, and I love having everyone home with me all the time. And I am also a wife and the founder and creator of Mom on the Climb and Mom on the Climb tribe, which is really just an amazing, awesome space of moms that support and empower each other through the difficult climbs of motherhood, and also celebrate the wins that we have every week. And it's really a unique space because there's everyone coming from so many different backgrounds and experiences and circumstances, and we all have different levels that we can use to help and support and empower each other. And it's a really beautiful thing. And so I also write, and I'm my medically complex toddler CNA, so I kind of do a whole arrangement of things.
Yes, you are a mom that wears many hats, and I am proud to say that I am a member of the Mom on the Climb tribe. And we met in a different group, but yeah, we have talked quite a bit. So today we're going to talk about prayer and how it is answered sometimes in abstract ways. And what I mean by that is we ask for something and it looks a certain way in our minds, but when it is answered, it may look differently. So do you want to elaborate on how that has happened in your own life? I know that we have had past discussions that are quite interesting on this topic.
Yes, we have. Well, I have many situations that I can think of just coming to the top of my head about times when I prayed for something and perhaps there was even a devastating situation, and I did not understand in the moment why it was happening. And then sometimes it's a few years later, and sometimes it's a few months later, that there's that aha moment on, oh my goodness, I see why that was allowed to happen and why an intervention didn't happen instead. In 2015, for instance, I miscarried twins and really struggled, postpartum after that situation, and not understanding why this was happening, why my husband and I weren't able to have the baby that we wanted to have, and why this is happening. And fast forward just 3 months, come to find out that my older son there had been a soft tissue sarcoma, rare tumor growing in the scar tissue of a break in his forearm. And so he was actually diagnosed with a rare cancer just a couple months after that happened. And so, later looking back, it was like, I can see how something that was so painful at the moment and didn't understand why there wasn't an intervention to go the way that I wanted it to. And then just months later, I see there's no way I could have handled this if I was 6 months pregnant with twins right now. My son, my love, was just diagnosed with a rare cancer. And there was so much research that went into that, and lifestyle change and diet change and all the things that a mom wants to do when her child is diagnosed with something like that. And so I would never go as far as to say it was a hidden blessing or anything like that, but I can see how everything kind of worked to the benefit of the circumstances that were already at play that I couldn't see yet. Fast forward a few years, and I recently was reading a journal, and I was writing one day basically that my husband and I were going to stop trying to have a baby because it hadn't happened, and we'd lost a few babies, and maybe it just wasn't meant to be. And we have a beautiful yours, mine, ours situation now, but we both came into the marriage with children, and our children fell in love with each other, and we fell in love with each other's children, I think, before each other, really. And so that situation was so beautiful, but being able to add an ours was really something that was, on our hearts that we really wanted. And so basically I had come to peace with the fact that it hadn't happened, and, perhaps I should stop trying, and it wasn't meant to be. Clearly that's what God was telling me, is that it wasn't meant to be. And so I'm rereading recently this journal that says this, and just a few days later, I think it was 1 week later, looking at the journal date, 1 week later, I find out that I'm pregnant.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And so later on, I'm talking, just a year ago, as I'm looking back at that journal, seeing that in the same breath almost, I'm asking to be used for greatness. And I am asking to have something massive happen so that I can be used for greater purpose, and not just, feel like I'm walking around day after day, just living a really painful life with nothing to show for it at the end. So that didn't make sense to me, and that wasn't what I wanted to believe, and that wasn't what I believed in my heart, is that I was just meant to walk around, aimlessly. And so in the same, sentence, in the same paragraph, I'm saying, I'm going to let go of this idea of having a baby, and I'm going to embrace whatever it is that you want for me. And fast forward that week, I found out I was pregnant, and just a few months later, at my 20-week ultrasound, we found out that our baby his organs were growing in a sac outside of his body, a rare condition called an omphalocele. And heart and lung complications were really common with that diagnosis. And so we really didn't know if he was going to live, if he was going to make it to birth, if after he was born, if he was going to be able to breathe. And so there's so many variables and so many questions. And that period of time was really difficult for me in saying, I don't understand how God can be all powerful and all loving, because if he was all powerful and he had the ability to take away my pain and heal my baby that my precious children are praying for, if he had that power and he loves me, he would do that. And I really, really struggled with that concept for months and months. And to the point where a random mom who I'm now friends with asked to pray for me in the NICU hallways after my son was born. And I said, no, I'm not in a place to do that right now. Feel free to go ahead and pray for me. But, I'm in too much of a place where I don't understand why God didn't heal this baby. And, over that time, I started writing and wrote, eventually launched a blog and started connecting with other moms who got that struggle, the same ones that I was. And so eventually we were able to, start a little tribe, a little clan, a little tribe of our own to support and empower each other. And fast forward 500 days in the NICU, 101 days in the pulmonary unit, bringing home our trach invented and tube fed baby. and he is happy and healthy to this day and learning and growing, and he has a really bright future ahead of him. And so keeping that idea in mind, that something that I prayed for a baby, and to be used for something great, kind of collided within this one prayer, and God saw an opportunity. I think, that higher power that is working in our lives, whether we see it or not, or whether our eyes are open enough to see it or not, it is there, ready and waiting for that story to be told, and waiting for something awesome to come from something really painful, pain for purpose, and using our wounds for wisdom. And so I really feel passionate today about sharing my experiences, because I don't want all of his pain to be for nothing. I don't want all of my experiences to be for nothing. I want to honor his pain in his life by using that to for other people to be able to understand medically complex children, or to be understanding of how to take care of yourself during survival mode, and 100 other things that I'm really passionate and that I believe in. But that is really, in a nutshell, where my story happens, with praying for something and not seeing that my prayers are being answered until months or years later, and then having that aha, God can use something really painful for something beautiful and inspiring and powerful. And I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Definitely. And, often people hear that pain for purpose or beauty from ashes, and they're very cliche, but they're also it's very true. I mean, I also am a NICU mom, and, that I believe. And I don't know if you know or not, but Isabella had an Infolacil as well. And
I did know that.
yeah, so we talked about that. So yeah, I mean, so that pain is not invited in. However, it is true that you have a choice to take that pain and move forward with it and help others from that experience, or you can just kind of retreat inside of yourself and get, for the lack of a better word, stuck in a place where you can't move forward. And so many NICU moms I have seen, they create nonprofits, they advocate for their babies, or whatever, issue the baby had, like whether it would be cancer, or for me, it would be trisomy 18, that's just the different things that are going on. And it makes, first of all, it helps the community. It helps reach doctors and help them understand where these parents are coming from. But it also tells a fellow NICU mom, hey, you know what? We've been there, and can survive this. It's very painful. But, so I'm so excited that you're able to recognize that through all of this adversity, your prayers had actually been answered. So now you were, reaching people, and it's probably not the way that you first thought, I'm guessing.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So you thought that it would look one way in the very beginning, and then, so is it hard at that point to say, is God really answering my prayers? Or was it just that struggle at the beginning where you said, I don't want to hear about God. I don't want to pray. If you want to pray for me, then that's fine. And then you just had this aha moment? Or can you talk a little bit about that? Like it was something that gradually came to you and you said, you know what, this is an answer to a prayer, not maybe what I had wanted it or how I saw it, but this is something, he's doing something really big here.
Yeah. So, to be honest with you, it was really very gradual. It developed over months of learning self-care, learning how to write out my feelings and my emotions, how to talk that out, how to build my support system. And as I built a tribe, I think I came more and more to an acceptance of, let me decide what it is that I really believe, regardless of what it is that I feel. So it was really something that took time and evolved. And I wish I could say there was this aha moment and one day everything just made sense. And maybe there was, but it was more so that my mind and my heart and my perspective were just changing over time as my support system grew and as people, sent me podcasts or sent me videos or messages, over time, I just started to see that this can be used and that a community can be built and that the things of this world are not permanent. And I think at one point it was that I really had to come to terms with the fact that my baby might not live. And
Yeah.
at that time, I think definitely how I coped with that is really deciding what do I believe? Do I believe in heaven? Do I believe what is it that I believe? And in my heart, I had to believe that if my baby didn't live, that he would be in heaven and there would be no more pain for him there and there would be no more suffering. And someday we would be reunited, but I just have to deal with my pain in it and he's no longer in pain. And so I really think the idea of heaven and the idea that this isn't temporary and that everything passes and that things are traumatic in the moment, but having a long-term picture of this is not how it's always going to be. He's not always going to be laying in a NICU bed. And there is life that can go on, and I'm going to be somebody at the end of this. Am I going to be a train wreck, or am I going to be, somebody that has made it through, another tragedy, another difficult time, and have made it out stronger? And so I had to decide who it was that I wanted to be at the end of all of that, and make little steps to take care of myself and to build that system and to really find it in myself to be the things that I was feeling called to be, which was to write a blog and then to build a community. And there's kind of been step by step that's placed in my heart and things that have been placed in my heart for long-term goals. And it's really just divinely intervened when the next step is supposed to happen. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just the right people fall into my lap and it's like, okay, the universe and the higher power at play here is really saying, okay, here's your next step. And I'm really, really enjoying living that way. I really enjoy not having to have the end in sight, but just really enjoying the journey, the good days, the bad days, and everything in between. And that's what I love about our tribe too. We accept the good days and the bad days, everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I'm hearing you right, and this is something we talk about quite often, is that, first you have to make a choice on how you're going to come out of it. You can choose to make good things come out or allow good things to come out, or you could choose to stay where you are. So that's very difficult. There's a lot of work in that, but also community. Do I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Community is huge. When you have supports, one of the first things I ask people is, what does your support system look like? And you're talking about something much bigger where you have all of these, I guess, strangers, but they're not really strangers because they're becoming your friends, on Facebook, that they're people from all around who are coming together and saying, hey, you know what, this is my struggle. And, they're just loving on one another, and community is huge. And also self-care is huge. And I would like for you to talk a little bit, if you can give people a couple of tips for self-care. When you're in this place, it does not look good, that is not comfortable, that may be very traumatic. How is it possible to take care of yourself so that you can make those good choices, so that you can choose to move forward and you can choose to actually even enjoy your life again?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think first and really important is to give yourself permission to be a hot mess. Give yourself permission to say, this is hard, and it's okay that I'm not eating healthy today. It's okay that my kid had a bit more screen time than usual. It's okay that I cried in the bathroom for 10 minutes. It is okay because motherhood is hard, and getting through whatever it is that the daily issue is that day, whether it's mousy kids or, a difficult toddler, or maybe a relationship that's really bothering you, being able to give yourself grace and give yourself permission to just be where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you have to be at this other place. And I wish I was this mom, and I wish I was this mom. Give yourself permission to just be a hot mess in the moment that you're in, and give yourself grace. Say it's
Absolutely.
okay. And I think, behind that, it is learning to make yourself a priority. And you can't do that unless you really understand the perspective and the concept that your kids cannot be their best versions of themselves if you are not the best versions of yourself. It is proven, through research and science and even physiology, that your children feed off of you. And I see that in my life. If I'm making smoothies, my kids come in and like, "Oh, would you make me a smoothie?" But if I'm
Yeah.
going to get my M&Ms, they want some too. And so I have to lead by example. And I think after that, what's really important is building up your support system so that on those days when you are a total hot mess, it's okay, because you have a army behind you. You have family, you have friends, you have maybe it's a church or your organization or a community program. Maybe it's a chaplain at the hospital. I fell in love with the chaplain in our NICU, and I'd never really spoken with one before. But we walked, round and round and round fourth floor NICU during his nap times when we had a nurse that we trusted, and I couldn't leave the floor, in my heart. And she just walked the floor with me. And I think that really had something to do with being able to process through all of that anger and all of that pain that went along with watching my baby in trauma and pain day after day. So I just totally fell in love with the chaplain. I loved our social worker. I had no idea how helpful they are. They have resources for days, and they really just care about family. And so your support system can look like so many things. And so when I didn't have a tribe, there was just a few of us that, I didn't have a big social media tribe. I, started a group to be able to keep in touch with everybody when we had to move him from the hospital he was born at over to Colorado. And, I started that to kind of keep in touch with old friends and our journey, and ended up developing a whole ton of new friends and a whole tribe that I hadn't really seen coming. And so the support system aspect is vital. It is going to help your journey. It will seriously make or break your life. So, one, give yourself permission to be a hot mess. Two, build up your support system. And three, recognize that you have to be a priority, because your kids cannot be their best versions if you are not your best versions. And your kids are not going to learn self-care if they don't see you caring for yourself. And they're not going to
Absolutely.
learn healthy communication if you don't have it. And, the last example I want to use is how that kind of works in my own day-to-day life. And my daughter has really long hair. I braid her hair regularly before bed so it doesn't get tangled. And, just a few weeks ago, Caden was sick. I had had a really stressful day. I had not taken any time to journal, to really, meet with God and to meditate or to write or to do, touch base with my tribe, so that I had that support system. And so I was kind of just really emotionally drained. And she waited until 9:30 to ask me to come braid her hair. And that irritated me. And instead of being like, "Sure, baby," and braiding her hair, I was like, "Seriously? You wait until now? Like, I've had an exhausting day. Kaden doesn't feel well. Now you want me to braid your hair? Like, you really need to start asking earlier." And she was kind of like, "Okay, no problem. Like, I understand," because she's such a sweetheart. And of course, then my mom heart hurt. And the next night, after I had slept, I had taken care of myself the next day. I knew I couldn't live like that again. So I took some time to myself uh, to do all the things that I know keep me healthy. And that night when she asked me to braid her hair, she was almost a little timid about it. Like, I don't want to ask you if you're too overwhelmed. And, she asked me, would you mind braiding my hair tonight? And I was just like, yes, baby, I would love to braid your hair. And we spent 10 minutes and we talked about her day and about what was going on in her life. And that was a really valuable moment. And next time she comes to me, she's not going to feel like I'm blowing her off or that I don't have the energy to deal with her or that other things are a priority, because you know what? She's going to stop coming to me. She's going to look elsewhere for validation. She's going to look elsewhere for somebody that she can talk to about her day. And I want her to come to me when things get rough. And so that 10 minutes of brushing and braiding her hair makes all the difference in our relationship and the person that she turns out to be and the productive member of society and the amazing things that she can do. She could do that if she allows me to guide her, which starts with me just braiding her hair and listening to her Fortnite game or her conversation with her friends. And I can't do that if I am out of my mind, exhausted from not eating, not sleeping, not, taking care of myself or hydrating, which is really a struggle for me. I like junk food and I like coffee and so those take intentional work, but my kids see that, and that is the difference between them growing up to be productive members of society or having no idea how to cope with their life and their feelings because their mom never did. She was nuts and always crying and losing her mind on everybody and, couldn't meet anyone where they were at with their issues. And so that is where it comes into play in the day by day. And you might think, I don't have time for self-care. My kids need something. I've got medically complex kids. You know what? You don't have time to not have self-care. If you've got crazy kids, if you've got a medically complex child or a busy life, you can't afford to not take some time and learn what works for you so that you can be your best version, because your little humans depend on you being your best version.
Absolutely. And, as you are saying all this, I'm listening to my own little biddies running around in the background. So, I think so many moms can resonate with you on, the part where you said you're tired because you haven't been taking care of yourself. And then you kind of are frustrated and you kind of snap. And then your mommy, her heart hurts. I love that because I think it's so true.
Yeah.
And a lot of us feel guilty. We have that mom guilt, which is so real. And, but
Which is where it comes in, giving yourself permission to just be a human, be a human person.
right. When moms are always trying to be superhuman. So,
Yeah.
knowing that it's okay to just stop and relax and then actually just enjoy, life and enjoy your family and enjoy your children instead of trying to constantly, get them to do things, which can end up being a fight. Um, but yeah, so since we have a lot of stuff going on, I have so enjoyed talking with you today. And I know that from past, we could talk like forever and days,
We can.
but,
We really could.
but,
well, thank you so much.
But since, we've both got some things going on, I think we're going to wrap it up. I'd love for you to tell the audience where they can find you, if they are connecting with you, if they'd like to join your tribe, that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, we do have a Facebook page. And so keeping up on what's going on, in Mom on the Climb, you can find us there. However, we are building an awesome tribe. That is where I spend the most time. So if you are looking for me, you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me in our tribe, which is where I spend the most time, which is also where I'm launching some really exciting things that are to come. And I could talk about that for another 20 minutes. So we'll save that for another time. But yeah, I think head on over to the tribe and, answer our questions and, make a new family. We really are more than just another group. So yeah, head on over there. That's where you can find me.
Awesome, Christina. It was so nice talking to you today on Faith Breathed Hope, and I look forward to maybe having you on in the future.
Thanks so much, Christina. It was such a pleasure chatting with you today. We'll chat again soon.
And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.